Good morning, YouTube, BookTube. This is Johnny. I thought I'd make a video. It is February the 1st, 2021. It is a Monday morning here in West Michigan. It is 9:27. It's cold. There's some sun out. My wife left this morning to do errands, and so I'm here left alone, drifting on the death flow. Writing in my diary. I started my February 2021 diary. I already wrote a page, and I am on page 111 for the first day of February 2021. I don't do book reviews because I usually don't finish a novel, but I showed you this a couple of months ago, the Book Lover's Journal, my personal reading record. I found this at a Goodwill thrift store, and I mentioned I might use the form in here to do book reviews. If I do a book review, and I did finish LA Confidential by James Ellroy. As I've mentioned over the years, I collect James Ellroy. Now, I'm not one who reads crime fiction, but I do collect certain writers, and my wife reads a lot of mystery novels by mystery writers like Lewis Penny and people like that. But I finished reading this, and then I got in the mail a couple of weeks ago, I ordered used James Ellroy's The White Jazz, and this is supposed to be like 4 novels, I think, and the one after, this is supposed to be the third one. This is supposed to be the 4th. I had, I don't know what sequence these are in, but I had The Black Delilah, which I think was the first of the novels in the trilogy. Well, not the trilogy, we call it the 4-part one. Can't remember how it goes, but anyway, I had The Black Delilah, and then I got well, I don't know what, then I have American Tabloid, a novel by James Ellroy. This is supposed to be, we are behind and below the scenes of JFK's presidential election, the Bay of Pigs, the assassination in the underworld that connects Miami, Los Angeles, Chicago, D.C. Where the CIA, the mob, and J. Edgar Hoover, Howard Hughes, Jimmy Hoffa, Cuban politics, the various loose cannons conspire and convert anarchy. So this must be not in that crime series, but anyway, I got this one by James Ellroy. The Big Nowhere, a crime novel by James Ellroy. The Cold 6000 by James Ellroy. Blood's a Rover, a novel by James Ellroy. And I have Tabloid, a novel by James Ellroy. American Tabloid by James. So I collect his writings. And I also have this by Perfilda, I can't pronounce that. I have this. So I do collect his novels if I see them in thrift stores, used book sales. And so finally I decided, well, I'm gonna read one. So I had picked this up at a thrift store and I read it. It took me a couple of weeks. And then I decided to use the little form in this little, I didn't write it in here, but I typed it out so I can use it later on if I do read another novel. I've had this fantasy of finishing a stack of novels that I have started last year or the year before, and I might do that, but I'm not going to guarantee it. Anyway, I wrote out the review. This is the review using that form inside here. So here it goes. Book title, LA Confidential. Author, James Ellroy. Publisher, Warner Books. Number of pages, 496. Fiction, genre, crime fiction. Nonfiction, it's not nonfiction. How I discovered or acquired this book. Several years ago, I heard about the crime writer James Ellroy and started collecting his books. A lot of people, now I haven't seen anybody in BookTube do a review on a James Ellroy book. I know from comments, people have mentioned that they have read him. When and where? I started reading James Ellroy's novel LA Confidential about the beginning of January 2021. Noteworthy experiences while reading this book. I can't say I had any noteworthy experiences reading this crime novel. The novel did, though, cause me to remember when I was young and we lived in LA. And as I have mentioned over the years, when I was like in my early teens, my mother remarried a sailor, and we were living in Norfolk, Virginia, and he got transferred to Los Angeles, and we moved across the United States. My mother, my stepfather, my brother, I'm the oldest of 5, my brother Mike, and my sister Robin, and my baby sister Danielle. When we got to California, we were living in Los Angeles, and my mother divorced Earl, and not Earl, his name was Thomason or something. And then when I was around 16 years old, my mother was killed coming home from work by a speeding ambulance. So when I was reading LA Confidential, I was remembering all those memories. So check out authors' other books or related books. I did use James Ellroy's novel White Jazz. I already have a stack of Ellroy's novels in our library. I showed you that stack. I can't say right now I plan to read any more of Ellroy's crime novels right now. Excuse me. Rate on the scale of 1 to 10 being exceptional. Now, I don't like rating novels from 1 to 10, 1 star, 2 star, 4 star, 5 star. So I'm not going to rate it on a system like that. I just can't wrap my brain around that. Quality of writing. I would describe Ellroy's writing style as being cartoonish. Ellroy's characters come off unreal, too generalized and stereotypical. Yeah, when I was reading it, there was a certain kind of, the characters in LA Confidential came off like cardboard figures. They didn't have any depth or anything they just all fit certain modes or certain cartoonish characters. You had the bad cop, you had the good cop, you had the bad guy, the really, really bad guy, you had the mafia guy, you had the bad corrupt politician, you had the flaky gay guy. They were all just stereotypical. And the writing was it came off kind of like cartoonish. That's all I could come up with. Pace. even though the crime novel comes off unreal, it did have a certain pace to it. There was a certain flow. I mean, the main story does flow through the novel. It's basically the main story, or is this horrible massacre of people killed in an all-night diner, and who killed them and why. And then also there's another crime, a prostitute is raped and murdered, and one of the cops wants to track down who killed this young teenage prostitute. And there's these two crimes going throughout the novel and trying to be solved by these different characters. Now the main characters, it mentions in the back of this, Los Angeles 1950s, from its fabulous mansions to its sizzling nightclubs, it is a sprawling center of corruption, dangerous passions. Now horrific mass murder invades the bleak cityscape. Caught in the nightmare are three cops bound by honor, sin, and blood. Ed Exley wants to eclipse his policeman father's success. Bud White watched his own mother's murder and is now a time bomb with a badge. Jack Benzine shakes down movie stars for a Scandal magazine. So those are the main characters. Bud, Ed, and Jack. All different police officers in the LA police force. Plot development. I suppose there was a plot to the novel, but it did not stand out that clearly. It was there, but you had to pay attention when you was reading throughout the novel. Characters. All the characters came off like bad movie actors in a cop movie. Yeah, they all came off like really poor acting in some terrible detective movie or TV series. Just kind of no one you could really like or identify with. Enjoyability. I can't say I enjoyed this novel, LA Confidential. In some ways, the novel made me feel sick inside. I was exposed to the depravity of man page after page. Yeah, the book is soaked, the novel is soaked in blood, all this murdering and depravity and sexual depravity and violence, and it was just horrible. Reading this novel was like having my face shoved into a pool of human blood continually. Insightfulness, 0. Ease of reading. Well, when it comes to reading LA Confidential, I said a middle school kid could read this thing, or even a high school kid could read this. You didn't have to have high intelligence or reading skills to read LA Confidential. It was written for the most lowest ability. If you read this, it's very stripped down prose, very elementary prose. Recommend this book to whom? I would not recommend this novel to anyone. I wouldn't recommend it. Now, if you want a cheap thrill, yeah, go ahead and read it. But the novel to me was a terrible piece of shit. That's what it was, to be honest. Basic plot or content, setting, main character point of view, how this book made you feel, or what it made me think, great lines and quotes. I didn't have anything. Overall rating, I would give this novel a 0 rating. A complete waste of time. So that's my review of LA Confidential, James Ellroy. And when I was reading James Ellroy, LA Confidential, I kept asking myself as a Christian, why am I sticking my head into this pail of garbage? Because I kept remembering these verses in the Paul's epistle to the Philippians. And he says, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there's any virtue, if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. The things which you learned and received and heard and saw in me, these do, and the God of peace be with you. So I kept thinking, because when you read a crime novel, you're meditating upon that stuff. You're thinking about these horrible, gruesome murders, and you're thinking about all this sexual perversion, and you're thinking about all this man's depravity and hate and pride and vainglory and unspeakable atrocities done to human beings. And then I kept thinking, well, I'm not supposed to be meditating upon these things. I'm supposed to have my mind on what it says here. Things that are pure, things that are lovely, things of good report, just, noble. Meditate on these things. I kept thinking about these verses in Philippians. So, that's my book report. So yeah, if you want to read LA Confidential, go ahead, but I wouldn't recommend it. So, here it's a Monday morning, and I don't know what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to drift. I woke up this morning feeling I just can't really feel like reading anything. I got my Bible out. I'll probably finish. I'm still reading through 2 Kings. Still reading the Psalms. Going through the Gospel of Luke. That's it. So I hope you had a good weekend. Thank you for the comments. Do pray that you have a good reading week. And until next time, bye.